Hey guys, welcome back! Better Than a Let's Play episode 24. I'm Enigmius. And today we're finishing off the last bits of terraforming for our next mega project. And by last bits, I mean any other bits will be done off camera after this episode because it's been a lot. Moving blocks from one place to another place that is not in the way. And the slimes, actually, it's the slimes that are foiling our cameraman's best efforts to get a good shot. They tend to get a little bit aggressive in their spawning, and consequently things tend to flicker. But you get the idea of what's going on here. This is a very, very fast quarry. This is a quarry running on, I think, 50 Minecraft joules per tick. And it's sped up to 60 times normal speed. So for 1 minute of footage you see here is an hour of this quarry running back and forth, up and down, well, I guess just down, clearing out this rather large section of material in the middle of this mountain. Now the whole idea here is that once we've got it cleared out, we'll be building a very intricate and involved village. You can see down to the left, sort of off to the left there in the middle, all those slimes flopping around. That apparently is what causes the chunk surfaces to not render with Camera Studio, is when you've got all those extra polygons just hanging out, flopping around. I'm pretty sure that they're below ground or I would have killed them by now, trust me. The whole idea here is to create a village that's eventually going to be populated with testificates, just because. We're going to be doing something on such a grand scale that to have it just sit there doing nothing at all would be an awful damn shame. So we're eventually going to populate it with testificates, but the whole idea here is that we want it to have as much detail as possible. That makes sense. I mean, we can make this thing busy as hell for no damn reason other than to say that we're trying to make it look detailed, and that's not really what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is interesting buildings, interesting towers, interesting shapes, interesting walls of the natural surfaces. Like we've got this inside of the mountain being carved out by the quarry. What are we going to do with it once, like, are we going to leave it natural walls, or are we going to make it sort of a hand-hewn sort of look, if that was even possible in Minecraft? You get the idea. And now you can see, this is when it's basically done. It's just a great big rectangular area inside the mountain, and then we've got sort of that wall still existing as a partition between the mountain and the valley, and we're heading out towards the valley now. You can see we've got a left, we've got a right, and nothing in the middle coming into this area. And that's sort of what we're working with. Now, I don't intend on leaving this wall between the areas indefinitely. It's just for now I haven't decided exactly how I want to manage it. I would like to keep some part of it just to give that sort of natural look to things. I like it when it looks like it was maybe there originally. I have to find where those damn slimes are. It's a pocket I can see now underground, and they're just going crazy. Sons of bitches. And now you can see with the way we had the quarry set up, and you can see the remainder of the quarry, we left a narrow strip of the top of the mountain by design. Again, we're trying to preserve some sort of natural look to it, and then I'm filling it back in. Once the quarry has done its business, I'm going around now. This is the same hardened dirt that you find all over the rest of the mountain so that it matches, and trying to fill in the areas that the quarry left behind so that it looks like we've got more of a rounded sort of shape coming out of this whole thing. It wasn't just a big rectangle, it was hewn in the middle of the mountain. It's got, what it looks like inside is not so important to me, just because it's much more difficult to see. But on the outside, it would be nice if we could have it looking like, this was just a great crevasse that existed between two different mountains, as opposed to the quarry turning one mountain into two. So we've got all this hardened dirt, which is kind of a pain because you can't really dig it so well with a shovel, even though it's dirt. And for some reason, the mining picks that I have are the same as the ones that I had for the Crystal Citadel, which have silk touch on them, which when I'm digging like stone or the red stone for the red mountain sort of thing, I don't mind, because then I get the actual stone back instead of cobblestone. With the dirt, there's nothing. It feels like I'm wasting the pick, but there's only so much that I can do. I do have a hammer with me. I mentioned that in the last episode. I do have a Tinker's Construct hammer that's really, really good for clearing out larger sections. We'll be doing some of that in the lower area. But for now, I'm just kind of scooting around doing the best that I can to fill this in. Once we've sort of backfilled the quarry area, returned it to a semi-natural looking state, that's when we can really start focusing on the actual building itself. So the first step in the terraforming was removing the unwanted material. The second step is restoring it to the look that we want in sort of the natural state that I keep mentioning. And then the last stage will be the actual build itself. So there's quite a bit going on here, and it's mostly because it's very, very easy to half-ass these builds and just say, oh well, that's how the quarry dug it, so that's how we're going to leave it, or not even take on the build because we can't do it the way that we want without having to take all these extra steps to make it look presentable, as it were. So there's definitely some time involved here. We're probably about 5 hours into the build in terms of the time that I've spent babysitting everything, keeping redstone energy cells charged for the quarry, for example, but not counting time that I was AFK with the game minimized in the background, just running the quarry. So a lot of time involved already, but we're getting to that point now where we can start to see things sort of coming together. And this is actually the one side of the valley, and I'm going to be removing, again, some material. Not necessarily all of the material that I'm removing will remain removed, if that makes any sense at all. This is one of those cases where I kind of have to remove things in larger bits and then take a look at it after the fact. In fact, if you look at the area to the right where the stone is exposed, there's a little bit of gravel there. I'm actually going to be covering that whole area in with the hardened dirt again, just because it doesn't really work for me to just kind of dig further back to put structures in there. So we're just going to cover it back up. And then the area that I'm working with now will eventually, it's basically going to match the other side. If you saw the last episode, you saw we kind of cleared that out and everything was nice and clean and shiny and happy. And then we can recess the buildings a little bit farther back. We can have them sticking out. We can have them doing all kinds of interesting things. And then coming together with the buildings in the central area, so it looks like it's definitely sort of one community or village, so to speak, for all these testificates. And then, of course, the last stage will be to go and abduct all the testificates that we need and breed the hell out of them, and hopefully they will trickle down as they breed, as the village fills up. If we build it properly, they should sort of trickle down and start to populate the place. But that's a ways away, let me tell you. So the primary material that I'll actually be building this out of is a combination of stone and cobblestone. And maybe some of that orange rock that you see there as well. It's got a stone and a cobblestone version as well. The idea is that the cobblestone with Soaratex, which is the texture pack that I'm using, is actually a very understated cobblestone compared to some of the other cobblestones, which almost go out of their way to look gaudy. This one actually looks more like a mortar and brick sort of thing. So mixing the two, the stone and the cobblestone, I think I'll get sort of that rustic, hand-hewn sort of look to things. It'll have a little bit of visual interest as opposed to just plain stone. And also, I've got a lot of cobblestone courtesy of the excavation. So the next episode we'll be building. We'll be starting to build, and it's probably going to start with a big archway up on top. We're going to do a big detailed archway, and then we can start thinking about the shape and the design for the buildings that we want. And it'll once again start to resemble less of a dig and more of a build. So if you'd like to be notified when I add that video, one of the easiest ways to do that is to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. You can also follow me on Twitter at Enigmius1. And then there's Google+, which appears to be everywhere, whether we want it to be or not. I don't mind it necessarily, but some people, what are you going to do? Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.